you can't remain terrified for that length of time. I mean, it was just.
You say that. Right, chat.
Hello.
I'm here with Robin Armstrong from the mighty Cosmograph and record company mogul now of the Gravity Dream Music. So, how did you end up setting up a label, Robin?
Yeah, well, that was a good. I'm trying to think when that started. I think it just really happened out of the whole self-release thing, really, with Cosmograph. I just it was a natural progression, really, because I just wanted to. I mean, it's this thing, isn't it? When you sort of, I don't know about you, but I get fiercely sort of protective and a bit of a control freak with stuff, and
yeah.
I was never really. I mean, I was in a record deal, and never really enjoyed being in that deal, really, and I just wanted to take control of my own sort of records, really. But then you get into this whole self-release thing, don't you, where it just feels a bit naff. You know, you sort of...
I mean, there's a thing of...
There's like a marketing thing, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, let's just try and make it a little bit more professional sounding, and that it is a label, even if it's just still me doing it. And it's sort of grown from there, really, because it started with just Cosmograph, but now we've got a couple of new acts on there as well, which I've just got interested in. But it's people that I've sort of been working with or I just listen, you know, I really like their stuff, and I just thought this needs a bigger audience.
Cool.
So it's not like I'm sort of going around trying to sign everybody and everyone.
Yeah, you're not standing at the back of the Bull and Gate.
No. No. What's it for
with the checkbook and the cigar?
Exactly, yeah. That's not going to happen. So it's sort of music that I love, people that I want to work with, and that sort of thing. And I'm just sort of, in many ways, just giving them access to the same sort of things I've built around Cosmograph. Really, just the sort of small network of distributors and the social media sort of side of things, and just letting people access to it. Really.
You don't realise,
money, but you know, it just feels right, and it's a nice thing to do, I think.
You don't necessarily realise how much you learn in the way of skills putting out records yourself and building.
Exactly that, yeah.
You don't realise, do you?
I mean, we've been doing this a long time now. I mean, it's Cosmograph's. I've been doing this for 11, 12 years now. So
I remember, yeah.
So we've seen quite a few releases between us, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a. I mean, I think every time I put something out, the trouble is, but if you put something out, it is 18 months, 2 years between releases as well. Everything changes so fast that strategies you use on Facebook. I mean, like now, in terms of social media, Facebook is very hard to get organic traction on. Unless you pay for adverts on there, it's very hard to build anything there.
That has nosedived badly in the last year or so, really.
Yeah,
even last year, I'm putting posts on the page, on the Cosmograph page, and they're just not going anywhere.
Unless you pay for it.
Unless you pay for it, yeah.
I put one up in our Facebook group. It's got 3,000 people who are online and 70 people saw it. Yeah. And then if those 70 people don't like it straight away, they don't send it out to anyone else.
It doesn't go to the next lot, does it?
So it's completely... sometimes you're lucky. Sometimes something will go out. But you can't organise it. The only way to do it is to pay for advertising on there.
Yeah.
And then that becomes a very expensive business if you're, putting the more money you put into it. So it's it's a weird time, isn't it? That
it is. I mean, I can see their point of view. I mean, I guess that it's almost like they're trying to take it back to its roots, where they just want Facebook to be a place where you put photos on and talk to your mates.
Yeah, exactly.
I can sort of see the philosophy that they don't want it spammed by businesses and bands and things like that. But the trouble is we, as bands and musicians, we just don't have access to those sort of budgets. And much of our marketing is talking with your friends, isn't it? And sort of you get a group of friends together and say, here's my new record, or this is what I'm doing. And so we're getting really badly penalised with it, really.
It's a very strange time again, and every few years it changes. I've been focusing on building up the YouTube with me and Kev with Fierce and the Dead.
Yeah.
And YouTube is certainly more people see your stuff on YouTube than they do on Facebook.
Definitely,
We spent the last, since lockdown started, we've put probably about 100 videos up of our songs and what else going on? We're going out, to be honest. But it's just us talking to people like this and stuff like that, and it's definitely growing the audience. I mean,
that's good. Yeah, so you're seeing a return from it. Not obviously not money, but you're seeing a return in fans and engagement. I
kind of see it as more building awareness. Yeah, I mean, it's like you build the awareness, and then because we haven't got a release out till probably next year now, so I just want to keep the name out there. We can't, what we always did before. We used to do loads and loads of gigs. Yeah. But obviously that's that's gone, unfortunately. Again, it's just a strange times to be alive, isn't it? So, it's. I think you have to take things under your own control, really. And I've always been very proactive in doing stuff, and because no one's going to help, doing the stuff we do, no one's going to help you out, really. And by the time they want to help you out, it's probably not that worth going with them anyway, because you've already got the 22. Unless you've got an audience, people aren't really interested in working with you anyway. So
it is. I mean, that's definitely it. I mean, you do sort of you've got to get so far to get interest from people, and then at what stage do you then say, well, I've actually got far enough to not bother with the other people and just carry on myself? It's a difficult dilemma.
I post the other day. So, in terms of where do you see it going? Do you got CD, vinyl, streaming, downloads? What do you think's the future of these things?
Well, I think it's changing rapidly, but I think the CDs days as a widespread format have just gone. I think it's just diminishing. It'll just shrink down into its like it's sort of it'll have its own niche audience. Yeah. There'll always be people that want CDs. I mean, there's people that have invested massive amount of money in their collections, and they love them, and you can't take that away from them. No one's saying that you suddenly got to throw all your CDs away, because and some people do feel a little bit threatened by that, I think, but I mean, I've said that as long as people will continue buying them, we'll continue making them, because at the moment they're cheap to produce, and they're great for us because the profit's great on them.
I mean,
they're small, they're easy to post. They're great. So we all the time when people buy them, we want to sell them. But as regards like the record buying public as a whole, it's gone. It's over. It's just not a format that people are widely using anymore.
It's a bit like tape cassettes and stuff. I mean, I know people who put out albums on tape. I know people who put albums on CD, on vinyl, who just do downloads on Bandcamp. I know people who do subscriptions on Bandcamp. There's just so much going on. One guy I know he's got loads of subscribers. He's got like 500 people who spend £30 a year with him, and they all download his albums. Every album comes out, he puts it straight onto Bandcamp. All the fans get it Yeah,
I mean, that's an interesting idea. I do like that idea. I mean, a few people have been talking to me about that sort of thing recently, and I quite like the idea that you haven't got this each sort of album release. You've got this hard sell that you have to sort of keep badgering your fans all the time with the thing, and the fact that they've already said, I'm going to buy anything you do and become like a patron, if you like, is quite a nice idea. But
I like the Patreon idea that the people subscribe to a YouTube channel and pay a certain amount, and the only thing it puts you under a lot of pressure to put new material out all the time.
Yeah, I don't like that commitment either. I mean, that's one thing that put me right off the whole pledge thing, really. The pledge music sort of scene and that sort of approach was that you've got this like implied contract, haven't you? That when you're accepting people's money, I mean, I really feel uncomfortable taking people's money and not giving something back.
The only way I'd do it is if we could have, because one of the good things about doing Fierce Dev for so long, we've got like various live recordings, demos, all in the vault, as it were. And we could say, well, we'll commit to putting out a video every month, couple of different videos, and then you'll get like a live track or like a live EP or something like that, because we just generated a lot of content because we've been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I'd be happy with that. But the idea that you have to make content for it.
No, yeah, that's a step too far. Yeah.
Well, it's just, and the other thing, so with the pledge thing, I mean, me and Kev talked about that, and one of the things we were worried about with that was if you make an album that people have already paid for and they don't like it, well,
they will not want their money back.
They want their money back, yeah. Or they're going to be disappointed, or they're going to be like,
excuse me, this did not contain 55 minutes of music, as you.
This isn't the Mellotron I ordered. Yeah. And my thing with the audience we have is not letting.
They will do that, Matt, as well.
Well, I know, but the thing is, we've built this sort of small audience. We've got to buy all our stuff and keep us going, bless them. And I'm very loyal to them as they're loyal to us. So I wouldn't want to let them down. So I'd always want to make things work properly, and it becomes quite a big sort of issue, really. So Cosmograph, there was gigs this year, wasn't there? So
yeah, so basically the whole sort of history of it, and I'm trying to wrap my brains how we did it, was that we were going to do 3 gigs basically last October basically, and I started getting things together Christmas last year, and it just all went well. Obviously, the thing hit the first lockdown March, and we were thinking it was just all going to blow over and carry on. So I carried on rehearsing, putting things together. We never actually got together, but we were learning parts. So basically, I put all the sort of stems and everything together for the shows. We had 3 shows planned: one Dingwalls in London, one in Manchester Academy, and then the last show would be at Summer's End. And of course, it just all fizzled out, and it basically, obviously, that one stage became impossible that it was going to happen. So we just said, well, just postpone it 1 year. So as it stands at the moment, it's all scheduled for October, beginning of October next year. But
that seems sensible. That seems sensible to me, to put it forward. Yeah, I mean
we could have said, well, let's just postpone it 4 months, but we wouldn't have been any further on.
We've got gigs next year. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know if it's suddenly going to. The vaccine thing will fix it. I don't know. Who knows? So
who knows? Yeah. I mean, there's rumours going around now that there'll be all sorts of conditions, won't there? Like you'll need to prove that you've had a vaccination before you can buy a ticket and all this sort of stuff. But I don't know if that's it's just internet rubbish again.
It's impossible to predict what's going to happen. One thing we've learned this year: you can't planning ahead. The current period of time is. No. But we've got gigs in Netherlands and Italy and all sorts next year, and I don't know.
I mean, there's a whole other issue with that as well, isn't there? With with the EU stuff, but perhaps we ought not to go there.
I think it's going to be a case of. I think it's at the moment 6 months' time. Let's see what's going on, because at the moment.
Yeah, you've been mad. I think you've been crazy to put a lot of investment and money in without knowing what the situation is. It's just, you just got to, like you say, play it by ear, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite difficult because a lot of time, this last March, we did a gig in London. Was it March? Yeah, March time. We did a gig in London, and then a week later, we were supposed to be heading towards to the Netherlands to play. Play this sort of enormous festival with Anathema.
Oh right, okay.
Which was was a big do.
And they've now split.
And looking back, now Anathema's gone.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre that all this, the band's gone, the headlining band are gone, and I don't know what's going to happen, and the world's just changed so fast. I thought. Yeah. I thought this year we'd be doing those gigs, then we go away, make the next album, and then. But what's happened is, I've been sat here, literally here in this my home, and playing guitar over the internet to Kev. We've been sending demos to each other and making records. We've rather than rehearsing. It's really sad, really. I mean, are you making a new record at the moment, Robin?
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of business as usual, really. I mean, I'm in a different situation, really, because I wasn't really much of we weren't ever really much of a gigging band. I mean, as you know, our last performance was back in 2014. So
I saw you. You were brilliant.
You were there, weren't you?
It was fantastic.
It was so it was a little ironic, really, that we chose last year as the as the debut to come literally back on and get back into it, and all this happened. But you know, for us, for me, it's different for the other guys in the band because they're similar to you. They're always gigging, but for me, it was, well, I'll just creep back to what I normally do. I mean, I love the studio anyway. It's my home, really. It's my you know, I'm much more comfortable in the studio than anywhere else. So I've been writing constantly, really, and I've actually written 2 albums now, and the first one hopefully is going to come out. I mean, it was supposed to come out this year, but I just don't know where the time's gone. For one, it's just taken much longer than it normally does. But
I think it's very hard because there's constant distractions. The world going slowly mad.
Yeah,
you know, it's. I mean, it's very, very hard at the moment. Everyone's living on a knife edge because I find myself watching too much news. I watch, you know, I go on social media. There's all sorts of weird stuff on there. So it's very hard to sort of. I think everyone sort of struggled to focus on, you know, musical projects and stuff. I mean, I think, you know, I went through a bad patch where I wasn't playing guitar at all because it was just a weird time to be alive, and I was just trying to process all the information.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to write anything as well if you're not meeting people and seeing places and getting out, and you're not being inspired by anything.
True. Yeah.
It's hard to come up with anything new. That's a problem. I mean, a lot of my music tends to be quite introspective, really. It's almost like an examination. Instead of looking outward, it's looking inward. Certainly the last couple of albums have felt like that. So I sort of get quite a lot of inspiration from that sort of thing, really. But I know certainly bands that write songs about events and things that are happening and you know, unless they're sort of being inspired and getting out to those places, it's quite difficult for them to.
Yeah. I mean, your albums are conceptual in nature, aren't they, normally?
They are, yeah. I mean, the themes are, you know, I suppose you could say it's a little bit. I'm sort of stuck in this whole thing, really. Like, it's a bit of a Floyd thing, really. The sort of trials of there's similar things that tend to come up across all my albums, really. Not that they're all the same; they're all exploring different ideas and everything. But there's very common things that tend to come up between them, and a lot of it is you know, the advancement of time. You know what. Feeling at odds with the world, trying to understand the world, those sort of issues, really. So it's quite sort of a.
They resonate with you,
stuff, really. Yeah. I mean, that's the sort of stuff that interests me. Yeah.
I mean, what's your? I mean, I've just got a few questions for you people.
Yeah.
So, what have I got? What's your favourite Cosmograph? That's Matthew J. Abbott. What's your favourite Cosmograph release?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I guess I suppose it's the old adage, isn't it? They're all like children, but I mean, I'll give. I suppose The Man Left in Space will probably be the one that most people identify me with, and for that reason, it's probably going to be, you know, the most famous one, and I'll always love it for that reason. It is the one that people recognise. Yeah,
it's always. Sometimes I've had a look at your sort of Spotify, listen to your stuff on there. And, that's always the most popular one, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It comes up has been always in the Spotify listings as the most listened to. What do you think?
It's the biggest selling now as well out of all of them.
Do you think that sort of resonates with the sort of Floydy, Porcupine Tree? I think there's a big sort of thing where Porcupine Tree split up, and those fans didn't really have anything. You know, Stephen Wilson went off and did something quite different. And those fans sort of gravitated towards perhaps something like yourself or Riverside, or
maybe.
Those sort of bands.
I must have think that they did, because I mean I was massive fan of Porcupine Tree. I still am. You know, I just think that for me, certainly within my top 3 bands of ever. You know, I just love everything they did. So
I think what you're doing with the stuff I sent your stuff to a friend of mine the other day who was a porcupine tree fan, and I said, like, check this guy out. I mean, if you like that sort of thing, I'm sure you'll enjoy this. And he really liked it. So
that's good.
I think that audience after Porcupine Tree split up was sort of left a bit sort of like, where do we go now? You know what I mean? So when
there is no obvious band to gravitate to, really. Though I think there's been a lot of clones obviously since, but
I don't think you're that. I don't think you're a clone of Porcupine Tree in any way at all. But I think you've continued the spirit of Porcupine Tree.
It's that sort of. I mean, Stephen will say himself, won't he, that he was massively influenced by the whole Floyd thing as well. So it's part of the DNA, really, isn't it? So certainly it's part of mine.
Same. Yeah, I mean, I recently got into animals. I've not been into animals before, and I love animals now. But only the last
that's a great
couple
album,
of years I've got into it, and but I always love "Wish You Were Here" and the medal and that. But I think there was that audience, But I think I mean, we like Spotify. Do you find that you've got a lot of new fans coming in through Spotify?
Yeah, quite a lot actually. I mean, I can't remember some of the figures, but it's grown massively in the last 3 years in terms of audience base.
What countries are they, Robin?
Mostly USA.
Is Poland quite big for you guys?
Not really, no. We do send quite a few CDs to Poland. They're quite traditional in their buying. They like CDs still, so they're.
So it's sort of USA's big for you.
USA, sort of Northern Europe, that sort of thing, really. That's it. That tends to be most of where it comes from. Yeah,
I think that's really cool. I mean, eventually, if you could build you could do the 3 dates, because 3 dates in the UK, and then do some festivals in Europe and start to build it up out there, would be ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that would be that's the sort of thing that. We were hoping was going to start to head in that direction, really. But
you've got live experience.
Yeah.
I mean, through the big train stuff you did must have been a incredible experience.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good experience. I mean, I spent I did 8 shows with Big Train, and got used to much bigger audiences, which was a good thing. And by the end of it felt good. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty scary to start with. I mean, it's not just the audience with that band. It's the audiences are bigger, but the other factor is that they're such monster musicians that you can't help but feel I'm out of my depth here musically. In terms of they're sort of virtuoso playing in a lot of places. So you've really got to keep your skills up to feel like you're on par and not holding them up.
It must have been, yeah. I mean, to be honest, it looked terrifying to me. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, the first couple of shows were pretty scary, I have to say. But you sort of, it's like that's that thing, isn't it? You can't remain terrified for that length of time. I mean, it was just.
You say that.
You say that. You probably could, but. Yeah. I was like, when we were doing the 6-day tour in the UK, we were literally sort of coming off stage. And you'd be in like a wow excitement and everything else, and then the next day it was crap. We have to, we've got to do another show again tonight. So you sort of start to get your head together and try and prepare again for the next one. But it never quite got to the same level of scariness by the end of it as it did.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It definitely gets easier the more you do.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think if you're not slightly scared, there's probably something slightly wrong.
Probably something wrong. Yeah, I mean that's true.
A little bit.
I mean, some of the guys will still show their nerves even after thousands of gigs. So, but it does become a part of the ritual. I think
it's weird because I've always found the bigger ones easier than the small ones. The small ones in pubs are the ones I always find. If you're playing in a pub and it's an audience that's not terribly interested, that
scares me. I have to say,
that's quite hard. But one of the that's difficult. But the big shows, because you've got good monitoring and it's easier. And especially
I got that impression at Lorelei when we did the Lorelei show, and that when we looked out, the crowd was just everywhere, and it was just huge. It was a great spectacle. But you almost felt divorced from them, especially when, you got the ear monitors in, and there was almost like a sort of it was like watching it on a 3D telly or something. It felt like there was a little bit of a barrier there between you and the audience, so it was slightly less intimidating.
Definitely. I mean, a lot of the time as well, for the big shows, you can't see the audience anyway because the lights are low, so you can only see the first couple of rows.
The pub environment, it just frightens me really. I'm not good with the whole sort of inattentive sort of drunk audience, and
that's hard. I mean,
I wouldn't be able to deal with that, I don't think. And it's something I've really tried to avoid, is playing anywhere where there's that sort of feel, where there's people just shouting at the back and just at each other. I think it's not really what I want to be doing on my music, you know.
No, I mean, I think, you know, we did that early on, played a lot of rough, difficult shows.
Yeah.
But now we're very lucky that the gigs we do, you know, we've got that sort of small audience. We can play 200 people in London, 100 people, 150 outside London, and it's our crowd, and we can do that now, which
they're on your side, basically.
Yeah, that's easy.
It's not like they sat there like this with their pints waiting for
we did all that when we started because we didn't know any better. We didn't know what else to do. We just got out and we played everywhere they'd have us, basically.
You've tackled it in quite a traditional way, haven't you? Like an old school way in terms of getting the band and playing venues. Yeah.
I wouldn't do that again now. I mean, but I don't know how else. It's that thing of once you've got that thing where you can do, like, play to 150 people in 3 or 4 towns. You know, that's you're off then. You know, if you can do London, Manchester, Edinburgh, Bristol, Cardiff, you know what I mean? Then you have then you can tour. But until you get to that point, you're opening for other bands, which is hard work. I mean, that's tough, you know, playing to other people's audiences.
You've got to win them over, haven't you?
You've got to win them over, and you've got to go in hard. You've got to go in and really make an impression. That's a really difficult job. Or you've got to do what you've done, is basically over this many years, put out lots of really good albums.
Yeah, I mean, that's I'm not going to say it was as organised as something like a strategy, but it was, for me, it was the default sort of position.
It's a good idea. I wish we'd done it like that. But
I wasn't very confident about going out and gigging. I wasn't particularly very extroverted in terms of doing that either. So it just felt the natural thing to do was just develop the craft of making albums, really, and just build that until it got to a point where you couldn't avoid it anymore. You know, people were just demanding that you need to get out and do a few shows.
Did you find that Celebrate gig, was it cathartic? Was it
Yeah, I think so. I think it's sort of, I mean, I still even now I can't understand how people, people say how brilliant it was.
It was really good.
It didn't feel brilliant at the time. I don't know why, but perhaps that's me being hard on myself. But it was, people seem to like it. So you know, that.
Same for us, though. I mean,
the
amount of shows you do, and you feel like, that went horribly wrong. And no one knows. The key is, right? The key is look like you meant to do it.
You look like you meant it,
and look like you got no fear. I mean, if you see us play, it looks like we've got no fear. But you don't know that everything's going horribly wrong and the pedals are breaking and that
was the thing. I think that might have helped me in a strange way, because my laptop just completely crapped out in the first song, and it was, you know, not that it was, you know, it was basically just, I was using like soft synth, so it was all live playing, no backing tracks or anything. But basically, the you know, without getting too technical, the host that was running all the plugins just completely lost contact with the USB interface, and I was left pressing keys, and nothing was happening.
Traditional,
and so it basically, I had to reboot the whole thing before the third song, and I think once I got it going again, I was so relieved that I'd actually got sound back, that the nerves just sort of disappeared. So it helped me in a funny way, and just like race through, you know, just bash through the rest of the show with a lot more confidence. But
I've had the classic. Someone's put a pint over my pedals. Well, that's all of it. And I remember there was one, we did this punk festival up in the punk post-rocky, where's this kind of alternative hardcore post-rock thing. And the floor, the stage was like waves. It's like when all our pedals were on it. I was like, oh my God. I mean, everything that could possibly go wrong has happened to us.
Went wrong, yeah.
So,
Short of electrocution.
Yeah, and when we played Rosfest, so we got to America, first song we played, Kev's pedals all went down. And like, it's all been recorded for, they've paid for you to go to the States, and there's, hundreds of people there, and it all went horribly wrong. So I think it's not necessarily things are going to go wrong. It's how you cope with them, and you look confident. Yeah. And I broke a string. Everything went wrong in Rosfest. But it's just looking confident, looking like you know what you're doing, isn't it? Really, Yeah,
and I think to some extent it keeps it real. Like your attitude towards. I mean, I've seen some great gigs where people think, like people who had to stop and stuff, and they just restart it in a strange way. It's like quite cool, really. It just shows.
It brings people into the show, brings them into the thing.
Bit of drama, and it's quite cool when things kick off again. Yeah.
So, what guitars are you using for your live show?
Well, it's. I've got a couple here actually. That's been my main weapon.
Oh, nice SG.
Yeah, I used to be a bit of a Strat player.
Nice guitar that SG is.
Can you see that? Yeah,
it's a nice guitar.
It's just a special, an old special faded without the sort of finish. Just the dot fretboard and not the sort of inlay. But I used to. I mean, for probably about 5-6 years, I'd played nothing on the albums but a Strat, and I bought this on a whim, and I just fell in love with it because they're so light. I love SG. They're so the body's so light, so thin.
I took the neck off it once. Can I tell you? I dropped one.
No, did you?
Let's go like that.
Oh shit!
So it was an SG.
So I love that, and it's a hardtail as well. So I do all of my drop D stuff or whatever it is with Cosmograph always gets done on that because it's just easy just to down tune it and everything else. And it just sounds really great. It just sounds, even though it's probably pretty stereotypical, it looks like a bit of an Iommi style guitar. It does seem somehow it gives like an Iommi sound as well.
They're great. I mean, they are great guitars. I love an SG.
I love that. But recently I bought which isn't here. I bought one of these cheap Harley Bentons.
Oh, what are they like? We talked about this before, didn't we?
And they're excellent. And it was the PRS copy I bought, which is one of their cheaper ones actually. But I've modded it quite a bit since. I've put DiMarzio pickups in it and a few other mods. And the necks on them are just like a dream. They're so the action is so low. But I'm just getting back now into because I've got the trem floating on it and everything, and it's just a great lead machine, great solo machine.
Do you play with the trem a lot?
Yeah,
I've never got into it really.
Got into it a bit more really, but you'll probably hear a bit more of that on the sort of new album that's coming out. There's a few tracks on that start to go in a bit more of a effect.
Someone plays a chord and they do the whammy on all that business. I like all that.
Yeah,
I like it when the people play like and then do the whole chord. I love all that. I've never got into the all that business or I've just never had a guitar. I used to have a guitar, Floyd Rose years ago on a guitar, but I've never had a guitar with a good tremolo on it. So. What tremolo has Harley Benton got? It's the PRS style one, is it? It's
the PRS style, yeah.
And it stays in tune, okay?
Wilkinson, and it stays in tune pretty well, yeah. I will need to upgrade the heads for lockers, I think. But
so your main one live is going to be the SG then?
Yeah, that'll be the live because it's just so dependable. It just does everything apart from the tremolo, really. So,
are you playing keyboards as well?
Yeah, so it'll be a bit of a mixture. I mean, unfortunately, on this show, all the shows coming up, I will be relying a little bit on backing tracks for some of the keyboard parts because we just can't we need about 6 people on stage. It's just impossible. So I just can't afford to get 6 musicians up there. So I'm going to be playing like bits of guitar, bits of keyboard. There'll be other atmospheres and things going on click and stuff. I
don't think it used to be a big deal for people, but we've talked about this recently that the newer stuff we're doing, we're either going to have to get a keyboard player or we're going to have to get a play to a click. And I think if it's for the whole show, but if it's for specific things, I can't see it's not such a big deal anymore.
No, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it's you know, we did it both ways with Big Train. Like you say, just a couple of things in the show with a click and most of it not. But I think there's enough vibe off the instruments that are playing that you're in never any doubt that it is a live show with live playing.
Exactly. I mean, I think the stigma's gone now, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's you've always got this balance, but of you know, you want the thing to sound as big and full with all the instrument parts as possible, but also you don't want it to sound just like the record. I mean, there's no point playing live if it's just going to sound like a copy of the record. So, I mean, it's difficult because there's a line. It's like I saw a band play. We supported an American company. They were American band at the Underworld last year. They're this sort of one of these sort of post-rocky bands that got following stuff. Can't remember what they're called, but their first song had a lead vocal in it. They were an instrumental band, but it had a lead vocal that was on the thing, and I found that a bit weird. That didn't really work. But I've seen Battles do it. Battles did it, and they had a projection of the singer. And Stephen Wilson did it as well. He had a projection. You know, he had that Pariah song. Yeah, he had the projection of the singer on there, and that really worked. So I think where it goes wrong is where you can hear a part, but you're struggling to see. You know, if you've got the sense where's like, you know, you can't see the correlation with your eyes. That's where it becomes unhinged. So, but if it's a background part or an atmosphere, that's fine. But if you're hearing someone play a lead solo and there's no one playing it,
that'd be,
you're shattering the image, aren't you? It wouldn't work. So
I suppose that's the thing. Is it a backing part or is it a lead part? So if I was, you know, we were doing a gig and a keyboard solo came in, but there's no one playing keyboards. Yeah,
that's exactly the pitfall. I think.
But if it's a synthy pad, that's not such a big deal, is it? So
it's just providing the backing or the platform for someone on stage to do their thing, and I think that's perfectly okay. I don't have an issue with that. You know,
no, I haven't either. I think you know, especially with Ableton now, in some programs you can extend the length of stuff. I also think, you know, for what we do, I mean, so much of it is just me and my mates playing in a room, and that's cool as well. But also there's elements of, you know, a lot of people have the projections connected to the clip.
It's all going to be synced up. Well.
I like that. I think that's quite a cool idea.
And it has massive benefits in rehearsing as well, because, well, especially at the moment, if you can't physically get together, you can still learn the songs because you've all got the parts and they're all exactly the same, and we can generate all the stems with that particular person's part removed. So it's basically like a karaoke mix for each member of the band, and they can learn the entire set remotely, which is brilliant and just saves so much money. You know,
it's amazing because a lot of the bands now, they'll do that and then they'll have a day's rehearsal.
Yeah,
and they're off.
Well, yeah, that's terrifying.
John Mitchell was telling me that Frost were. I mean, Frost stuff's so hard to play.
I mean, their stuff is incredibly technical as well, and just if they're getting away with one rehearsal together, that's incredible. Yeah.
I mean, there's no. I think it was one day, 2 day, and I was like, well, I mean, I'd be absolutely terrified.
Yeah. I was talking to Colin from Porcupine Tree, and he said a similar thing that he got quite used to learning parts from stems, basically, and just turning up pretty well rehearsed. And it was literally the last couple of rehearsals that they were just sort of getting all in the room together, because of the practicalities of having the band spread all over the country or the world. You know?
That's the way it's going to be from now on, isn't it?
I think so. I think that's how, you know, to make it. You've got to look at ways to make all this economic.
Stu's our drummers in Dorset now. Me, Kevin, Steve are still in London, but I don't intend to spend the rest of my life in London. Probably, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it terribly, but you know, and also you can't do. You know, if we're all in lockdown, you can't rehearse together anyway. So, you know, I haven't played the set since March. So last time I played any Fierce or Dead News, it was the day we walked off stage, March. We took all the gear up to storage, and said, "Well, I'll see you at the weekend. We're off to Netherlands. It's going to be brilliant." And
little did we know.
watching the news in horror. I think it was that weekend or the weekend after. We were going to go and play this festival in the Netherlands, and we had loads of gigs booked. We had loads of festivals, and we're not going to the Netherlands now, are we? So
no, definitely not. That isn't going to happen soon. Yeah.
It was a bit bizarre, really. So I don't really know, how it's going to pan out. But yeah, you're right. I think more and more bands, it's just we meet 2 days before we rehearse and off we go. But to me, that's terrifying. Yeah,
it is because as we found, I found with Big Train, it was one thing hearing it, on your cans rehearsing with all the parts. You think, this is going to be easy. We'll just turn up and it'll sound exactly like it does in the rehearsal, as I do at home. And no, as well. In fact, you get in the room and it's a different room and different acoustics, and then you spend like 3 days, messing around with levels and getting your monitoring right. And
how much rehearsal did you do for the Big Train tour?
Oh, a massive amount. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was one of the reasons I had to, unfortunately, sort of say I can't continue.
Definitely.
So much time, not only rehearsing but just learning parts, because I just didn't want to let the guys down. I wanted it to be.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've had a similar experience of people asking me to do stuff, and it's like, well, I'm not going to do it unless I can. Yeah,
I've got to make a good go of it, and I spent months learning the songs. And just making sure that a lot of their music, there's a huge amount of patch changes and different sounds that come in, even from the same keyboard player. So you think of a sort of traditional keyboard player in a band, they maybe have one or two sounds that they play in one song, but we were getting through like sort of 20 or 30 different patches and sounds within one song.
So how did you? Do you went off main stage then?
Yeah, I couldn't see any other way to do it, really. I mean, the big advantage was that a lot of those plugins and everything had been used within making the record, so it was a case of sort of transporting some of that sound off into a live a way of playing it live, and the most obvious way of doing that was through main stage, and it worked brilliantly, to be honest.
We've just got the Helix effects, Helix stuff, and we can record all the guitar parts in Helix, and then download the board and then play the same board live.
Oh, excellent. That sounds clever. Yeah.
So, and you can do things where it changes like 4 pedals at the same time.
Yeah.
Before that, up until lockdown, we all had these massive pedal boards.
Yeah.
These hugely complicated pedal boards, but it was a bit like a train set for nerds like me. And, but we've got the Helix set now, and it's just amazing. What pedals are you going to use live?
To be honest, having said that, I love both camps really. I'm a bit of a digital and analog nut really. I'm just getting really into analog music sound as well. But live, I've got the Soul Food Overdrive, which I just love. It just
that's a great pedal.
Everything I put through it just sounds brilliant, and it's my sort of desert island pedal, if you like. Is that I'd always have a Soul Food Overdrive on there. But not a huge amount else really. I mean, I've got an H&K amp I bought. Like a Tube Meister 36 watt amp, which will do the sort of grunting part of it really, and just put like a Soul Food in front of that. And I've got which, sorry?
Do you have delay as well?
Yeah, I've got a digital delay I'll put through the effects loop. So it's just a cheap. I bought a cheap one actually. It was yellow something from. It was like a what's the really really cheap maker? I can't think of their name.
I got. This is my favourite delay at the moment. The Electro-Harmonics, the analog one. It's like a memory man sort of thing, but it's got those sort of sounds on it.
That's good, yeah.
Any other pedals?
That's. I mean, I don't know if you know, but I've been sort of trying to set up this little thing where I've been making my own stuff.
I remember you saying about it. Yeah.
That's been going all right, and I did I actually put like a prototype for a booster. Like a line booster type pedal. Do you remember the Screaming Bird, that one, and the Electro-Harmonics LPB and that sort of thing?
Well, reduce wattage on the amps as well.
I've had a go at just about everything. But
brilliant, it's a good idea.
The real success one. I'm going to put this one into production. Actually, is this one? You can see that that's it's just basically a splitter buffer. and this has been brilliant in the studio because what it does, it basically goes at the front of your pedal board and just splits the signal two ways, but it makes the high impedance guitar signal into low impedance, so it'll drive basically as many pedals as you want.
Wow. Brilliant. But
I can take one output off that and put it straight into the amp, and then that amp then goes into my reactive load box, which then goes into the recording interface, and then the other amp just goes straight into like a DI into the interface. So you get like a dry signal and a wet signal, and the dry signal will enable you to edit your parts much easier because you can see all the little transients of the guitar.
So you can
each individual.
And you can reamp and do whatever you want to do.
And do what you want. Yeah. Brilliant. So that's been brilliant, and I'm actually making a few of those to sell. So that's hopefully coming. But
so she had a word with do you know Dan Daniel from used to be in Tin Spirits?
Oh yeah, Daniel Steinhardt, is that right?
Yeah, he does show
pedal show.
Pedal show,
yeah.
He's a very nice man. Do you know him?
I don't. I've seen him about on Facebook and YouTube. Obviously, watched his shows on YouTube. Yeah,
very nice chap. You should definitely hit him up for that, as I believe the young folks say. I think that's certainly something you'd probably be interested in. So it's definitely worth having a chat with him.
Yeah, but I've been getting to all sorts really. I'm into load boxes quite a bit. I mean, I've been selling quite a few load boxes, both the sort of all reactive ones. Resistive ones, just the simple resistor type ones. I mean, I was recording the last 3 albums. All my guitar parts have just been done through a real amp, but with a load box.
And then do you have a amp simulator at the other end? Then?
Yeah, and just put a cab simulator. So it's like a hybrid setup, if you like. So it's software cab sims and but real amps. And
the amp head is running as a preamp, but the valves are actually getting to the right level to be able to.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Yeah,
valves. Yeah, got you.
Yeah, so it just enables you to get in reasonably hot without too much, without any volume, basically. So
I've never been into plug-in amps, and I have to say the Helix. I love the effects, but I think the actual amps aren't really my cup of tea.
Yeah,
we've got the Friedman amp plug-in.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's stunning, absolutely stunning. And I think we've been using that a lot. I mean, I think we'll probably end up reamping all the guitars and going to a studio and probably, using the orange stacks and stuff. But, are you going to run, so live, you're going to run amps and mic the amps up, or are you going to run them?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be micing my amp up. Lee, who's the other guitarist, Lee Abraham, he's a big fan of going direct. So he basically had a...
I think we're at the point now where there's not a lot in it.
No, yeah.
And the other advantage of I mean, we've got these big orange, I've got big greenbacks, 4x2, really, really great amps. But the problem with them is... my neighbour's drilling. The problem with them is, I reckon we've done about 100 gigs in the last 10 years, and I've never took them over 3. We've never got them loud.
Yeah, we've got you melt people's eardrums, don't you? It's
because everywhere you play now, every single venue, there is not a venue in this country that will let you take a 4x12 loud.
No.
And we've played everywhere. We've played like massive festivals. We played. I remember we got to Rambling Man. There's like 6,000 people there. I thought, here we go, the old amps coming out tonight. Excuse me, mate, it's a bit loud on stage. I've got it on 3. Got it on 3. What's a field? What do you want?
Yeah, it's not.
So
I can't work out what's happened. Whether it just amps have just got so efficient these days. I mean, so you can get like some 20-watt amps that just blow your ears off. I mean, they're so loud.
Yeah, there's an orange one. I've got an orange valve practice amp, which is great for recording actually. But I've got that upstairs. I've never been able to take it over 3 in the house.
Yeah,
and Marshall came out, I can't remember, it's the 400-watt amps or something. There was these mega Marshall amps. We can use it. Where are these people playing? They can use it
just in case I get a gig at Wembley Stadium. Yeah.
But where? I mean, even there they'd say, well, it's overpowering the vocal mic or something.
Too much bleed. You'll have to turn down. Yeah, I mean,
I don't understand where. I don't know where, where would you use these bits of gear? Where would you?
I don't know. It's mad. It's absolutely mad. It's even madder in a recording studio, to be honest. And some people are still recording parts in tiny studios with huge amps and big load boxes. And I've just found that you don't really need it. You can get big tones out of tiny little amps.
Definitely.
1 watt. I know use a 7 watt amp for my recording, and I've used 1 watts and 4 watts, and you can just get epic tones if you just do the right thing with the software modelling them, and counting and stuff.
We had the ones we use live are transistor orange ones, because valve amps, if you're touring and you're throwing the heads around, the valve amps are too delicate. I mean, there's a problem with valve amps. So, but in the studio, we've got these Red Bears, which is a Russian copy of a JCM 800, the Marshall amps, and they're really good. They sound really good. But once again, I mean, I've got there's a Fender Hot Rod out there in the hallway that I bought 15 years ago and never turned up past one. I mean, where would you? Fender Hot Rods are incredibly loud. Where would you use a Fender Hot Rod?
I don't know. Yeah.
Where are these people playing to use a Fender Hot Rod?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's just bragging rights or whatever it is, but it's weird. It's like I used to be into cars, and it feels like a similar thing to that car community where you got 500 horsepower or 600 horsepower, and you think, well, where are you going to use that kind of power where? On the road? You don't need it. It's just giving you more problems than you need. Yeah.
Right, there's a few questions people post on you. I'd feel rude if I didn't ask you them.
Okay.
If you had a chance to perform any Big B Train band songs in your own band or solo, what would they be, and how would you do it differently?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Blimey. There's a good chance if I ever get to do the house concert thing, which was also,
we were supposed to do that as well.
There could be a couple of Big Big Train songs in that, without giving too much away. But one song of theirs I absolutely love, and I'd like to do my own version of it, is British Racing Green, which was really off the wall for Big Big Train, because it was really like a love song, really, and quite different to their usual style. But I just absolutely love that song.
The shows were really great. They were.
Yeah, it was good. It was good fun. I mean, they're great people, and huge fun hanging out with them as well. Yeah, yeah.
No, I've only got good things to say about Big B Train. So we've got that. Grumblewood. So how did you hear about Grumblewood? How long did it take you to sign them? And are there any other not so proggy bands you're considering for Gravity Dream?
There are, yeah. I can't say too much on that, but that could happen next year in terms of like a less proggy band, but blew me away actually, which are more towards the sort of melodic rock sort of side of things. But we'll see how that goes. But I'm still talking to them at the moment.
It's weird because the easiest stuff to sell to the prog world is stuff that sounds exactly like stuff that's from the 1970s, isn't it? So
yeah.
If anything, it sort of diverges from that. It gets a little bit more challenging, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I mean, Grumblewood was interesting because it wasn't that proggy, but it was very folky. And folk isn't something I'm hugely into, but I just love the feel of the record. It was literally like taking a record out of the sleeve and putting it on, and like in 1972, it was all done to tape, like the whole thing to tape, mixed and mastered. And they are so. It just takes you back to when you were a kid and you watched all those documentaries, and there'd be all this sort of strange folk rock, prog rock music sort of coming out the telly, on documentaries, and flutes, and a very sort of Jethro Tull feel to it. But great songwriting, and it just won me over straight away. Really, it wasn't much of a decision to sign them, I have to say.
So the next question is, hold on. Which bands or labels does Robin believe he can learn from in building your business, and why?
Oh, that's a really good question, isn't it? God, he's got some good questions in there.
Didn't they? Very clever than me. That's why I ask people to ask, because I'd have to think then.
Yeah, there's sort of bits of fun, really. I mean, I've had dealings with some labels which probably shouldn't be mentioned, which I definitely don't want to follow. But but I mean, some of the good ones that I see that I think are doing a great job. I mean, you've got to look at people like Inside Out in terms of the way they've group together a huge community of bands. I think that's quite clever.
Yeah, I think there's something in if you can build the channels up like K-Scope, Inside Out, and people like that have done, that you can put out albums. Bad Elephant have done the same thing, where that you can put an album out, and and it's, you know, someone who's bought a Porcupine Tree album, or probably like a Godsticks album, you know, that like they've, you know, and Pineapple Thief and all those guys have got a, you know, similar sort of ethos, where they don't necessarily sound the same, but they've got a
they've got a similar sort of not message, but a similar sort of mission statement, haven't they? That, you know, they're
same attitude and same
attitude towards things. But you know, it's people like you say, Bad Elephant. I like the way David's pulled the community thing together. He's sort of got bands into release that wouldn't have really got a voice otherwise, I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely. Yeah, it's definitely. I think that's the thing. Build the community. All about community and.
Yeah, and it's you know, he does fair. You know, it's like a fair system that he's put together as well for everybody, and it works. But also, you know, people like Nuclear Blast, I think, are really pushing things quite hard. I like their marketing, and their, you know, they just seem to pierce quite well on the marketing, you know, and they get some really impactful bands, you know, that they're putting through. They've just taken on Opeth, haven't they? Nuclear Blast, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Opeth,
one of my favourite bands. Yeah,
hugely like Opeth, the way they've done things. Okay,
I think they're just a great example, Opeth, of how to do it right. Because
they've grown it and built it. And built it.
And the thing I love about Opeth is they've still got that rock swagger that's missing, I think, from a lot of prog bands and a lot of. I know they're more towards the metal side, and it sort of comes more naturally from that direction. But they've just got like an attitude and a swagger and a bit of that good old fashioned sort of scary looking band that attitude that I think is missing a little bit from rock. You know,
I found in prog is it's very polite. I'm a polite person. Don't get me wrong, but not when I'm playing. I'm not polite.
No.
You know, I like to throw things around and make a mess. And
well, that's what you should. I think that's what you should do. You should have. It's the Bowie thing, isn't it? You come up with it as soon as you hit the stage, the alter ego comes up, doesn't it? And
you have to create that character, don't you? So
you've got to create a character. Yeah.
So what's the next one? What was the definitive record that shaped your musical taste?
Oh, crikey, blimey! That's going to be tricky. Probably The Wall, I think.
Yeah, that's you can't.
I know it's an obvious one, but I've just got a vivid memory of me when I should have been studying for O levels. I was trying to recreate the Wall cover with a ruler and basically draw the bricks. So I had like an A4 piece of paper.
Can't go far.
I was supposed to be revising for a maths O level, and I put The Wall on, and I was basically trying to draw the cover. As I was listening to it, I can always remember that. It comes into my memory, but just being blown away by the whole concept of it, you know.
You can't go far wrong there. Most important question: red sauce or brown sauce in a bacon sandwich?
Oh, definitely brown. Yeah, I love brown sauce.
What musical influences most inform your style of composition?
In terms of bands or composers or that sort of thing.
If listening to you guys, can I have Floyd?
Yeah.
Pineapple, Porcupine Tree.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What's third? What else can I hear in there? No, keep going.
Well, a massive one which you and I both share is Radiohead. I mean, a massive.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you've got definitely the way you treat vocals.
I love the whole shoegaze sort of attitude and the melancholy and the you know the desperation sort of music. Really, I mean, it's
just out of interest as well. So if a lot of your vocal sounds are quite deep, multi-layered, and how are you going to have effects on the vocals live? How's that going to work? Who's going to? I would imagine you have to have a lot of those vocals. Like when I think of your vocal sound, it's these floaty sort of there's quite big delays and big verbs.
It's definitely a part of it.
Modulated reverb and stuff, all sorts of stuff. How are you going to do that live?
It's likely going to need putting some of that on back. I mean, I didn't quite get to that level of detail in setting things up, but that will have to, I think, inevitably have to have some assistance from.
Are you going to get a live person to do your sound live to come out with you, or are you going to use the
just won't be able to afford it. We're going to be totally reliant on turning up and hoping that the guy knows what he's doing.
Well, this is the thing. We're at the point now. I think that if we carry on and get to play to 200 people venues and sell them out, I think the sound person will be the next thing we get, because
it makes a massive difference. I mean, it did. As you know, a big train. It got Rob Aubrey's. It was
brilliant,
jokingly like the 9th train and or the 8th train, and probably the 5th train now.
Beard and all sorts, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's as much part of the band as anybody else, really, and he just knows how to set everything up how it needs to be. And I certainly, as soon as we could afford that sort of arrangement, like you say, that we can take someone with us.
I think that's the next thing I'd like is a sound guy, and someone to operate projections live. So we've got a guy called Chris, who was doing projections for the biggest headline show we did at Lexington, and we got Chris from Inner Strings to do the projections, and it made such a difference. Honestly, it's so much easier. It's just like if you've got someone if you've got projections live, it just takes the pressure off. Because
I mean, that's something I'd really love to do, actually. Because I mean, Cosmograph has always been about, for me, it's a little bit like being a frustrated film director, because I just love films and TV and the whole drama thing as well. So
honestly, if you
visual into the whole thing for me would be that is definitely something I just love to do, is just get into that whole. I
mean, it makes you realise once you got that, basically came along with the projectors and you put a sheet up, projector behind us, and so much easier. As a performer, you haven't got to do such big motions because the lights.
It's all happening behind you.
So you can see why Floyd loved it, because they could just stand and play. Projections did all the work for them. You know what I mean? Right, we've got another question. Robin has branched into doing mixing and mastering for artists. Is this an area you'd like to grow while maintaining his own musical output?
It's an area I'm trying to grow, I have to say. Yeah, definitely something I'm really interested in. I mean, as I said, the studio is my environment, really. I just love the whole studio thing. I've spent an enormous amount of money over the last couple of years just basically growing kit, basically, and getting real professional kit in and just learning the craft. It just excites me more than anything else. As much as songwriting, I just love the whole using the studio as an artistic tool as much as writing the record. So, and I just love doing it for other people as well.
Gear nerds. I mean, I'm a massive gear nerd. I love new gear all the time. I love all the. I can't really afford it at the moment, but
I mean, it's financially, it's just bonkers. I mean, I spent £1,500 on a set of new monitors for the studio the other day. I mean, I didn't regret it for the moment.
That's the key thing to buy, though, if you're mixing it up.
You can't mess it. You've got to have decent monitors. I mean, that's the whole essence of the studio. So it had to be done. So, stuff like that. And I've been... I'm building stuff at the moment. I'm building a bus compressor for myself to use in there and trying to keep costs down, but also just getting into the whole thing. I mean, it's a funny thing. People obsess about file formats and sample rates and all this sort of stuff, but none of that stuff really makes any difference to how things sound. I mean, the stuff that really matters are things like your preamps and and how the whole thing is mixed. It's not about what sample rate it's presented at the end, whether it's 96K or 44K or whatever it is. It's the art of mixing is my interest.
I think a lot of it is often experimentation, and a lot of things I do is I'll put pedals in the wrong order. I'll put delay before
you come up with something interesting. That sounds really weird, and I'd like to use that. And that's what it's about. It's that it's using the studio as a creative tool as much as the instrument. Yeah,
I agree. So I've got another question. Are you from a musical family background? Do you have a musical family background?
Not really. No. My immediate family has no interest in it whatsoever. Both my son and my daughter just have no interest in it. They'll listen to some music, but just not. That's it, really. My dad plays piano, but he started really late in life. He started learning when he was 65.
Cool.
And he got to grade 4, something like that. He got quite good. But it's quite interesting when you meet someone who can only can read music and basically plays music, with sheet music in front of them. Sometimes if you take their music away, they just completely lost. And I just couldn't put it out. Yeah, it just.
Do you read music, Robin?
No, I don't. I'm completely self-taught. I can't. Everything I've learned has just been by ear. Just. I can't even do tab. I have no understanding of how tab works.
Wow.
Don't use it. Don't have it.
So, in terms of lead playing, do you think of scales? Do you think of arpeggios as chords, or do you just sort of?
I mean, I've tried to study a lot of, tried to get my theory up over the years. I mean, it's nowhere near where it should be, but I can usually work out what modes I'm playing now, and what I'm attempting to do scale wise, and it's which inversion maybe it is. So
I tend to just follow the chords, to be honest.
Yeah.
I always, because I used to play sort of a scale when I was younger. So I used to play very scale orientated. What I tend to do is now work out the chords and then work out the arpeggios of them all over the neck, and then work out the chord substitutes. So you can play every time you see a minor, you play a major. Every time you and do all that sort of stuff. And then you suddenly think it's a lot easier than it looks, because all you're really doing is playing bits of chords. Just playing jangly sort of chord stuff. So in terms of, it's weird, isn't it, that I used to think of modes a lot, but I don't really think of modes anymore. I should do, I suppose, but I just don't.
Yeah, I think there's a danger that. One example. I mean, if you look at some of videos from like Joe Satriani, where he's explaining. I mean, he's a monster of modes and guitar theory. I mean, you name any mode, and he can play the song that he's playing, and he'll solo in a different mode. He'll go Dorian, then he'll go Mixolydian, and just.
I know all my modes, but I just don't think like that when I'm solo.
It starts to get all a bit mathematic for me. I just get, I lose, Yeah.
If I think of A minor, I think of C. I think of the.
Yeah.
I think of the. I think of the notes of the chord.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, and then I think of the bits that go through them. But if I start thinking of modes, I start playing. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, I don't really think.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of discovered it the other day, really, that I mean, every guitarist keeps relying on similar tropes, don't they? They sort of...
I'm terrible for it, yeah. And that's
certain things that you just repeat over and over, and every great guitarist does it. I was getting quite upset, because I thought, well, I've heard you've done that same chord sequence over about 4 different songs.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
This one was the one you played on. The vacuum that I fly through, it was off the Manifold Space. I mean, it's this sort of G sharp minor sort of, and you sort of descend down to a major, just one semitone down. And I counting back, I've used that so many times. It's like,
it's a lovely chord sequence.
That sort of sequence, and it's sort of just become one thing I just subconsciously just keep going back to.
Same, we all do it. That's the way. We've all got these chord sequences, I've got...
That we favour, and I got quite upset about it, because I think you're just repeating yourself, but that's
a lovely chord. I mean, that's a lovely chord sequence. I mean, so, you don't hear much of it. So, hold on. I've got some more questions.
More questions.
I'm a big fan of Robin's work, and Cosmograph in particular. Can you ask him if the rescheduled Cosmograph live shows for next year will feature any cameo appearances by anyone we know, Tar?
Not planned at the moment.
Horrendous to organise. Yeah. To be honest, it's bad enough trying to organise a
to be honest, I'll be happy if we manage to get all of us there.
It sounds horrendous to me.
Yeah,
the only thing I've ever thought I'd like to do with our stuff is to have a section where we just have some sax on it. Improvising sax over it. I think I could cope with that. But in terms of rehearse, I think it'd be impossible. Simon Godfrey, the legend. Which songs in his catalogue were easiest to write, and which were the hardest?
Oh, that's
the last one.
Last one. There's one I'm trying to finish at the moment, which is supposed to be on the album that I'm putting out next, which is a bit worrying. I still haven't quite nailed the front end of it, and it is driving me absolutely bananas.
Do you find, what's the hard bit for you? Is it the arrangements, or is it the...
It's just how to start. For some reason, I mean, it's not something I particularly find difficult normally, but for some reason, this one song, I just cannot decide how I want to start the song.
My issue, it's always the arrangements I find hard. And
yeah, I mean, a lot of the time, I mean, some of the things I do, I don't feel fit into the sort of standard, the prog way of arranging things. I mean, a classic example is, Greg is fantastic. Greg Sporton from Big Train. He's got this real clever way of bringing like an arrangement in, and he'll refer to it. He'll sort of go through the song, and there's a little, reference to that arrangement. It comes back, and then it goes away, and then it comes back strongly in a chorus, and it's like these little motifs just keep repeating. And I find that really a skill that I don't particularly sort of go in my music, and it's quite a traditional thing to do in prog, I think. But I find a lot, even though I'm sort of, I suppose, considered a prog artist, a lot of my arrangements are quite traditionally classic rock, I think, in terms of the way I build up a chorus and a verse and that sort of thing.
I mean, I'm quite lucky in that I'll tend to come up with the bits, and then I'll pass it on to the rest of the guys in the bands, and then, Kev will come up with the bits, and he'll pay it to me, and it's all very collaborative. I mean, I don't, I'm written a song on my own for 5 or 6 years. You know what I mean? Because everything's written as a band. So, how do
you find that dilemma? Because I had this with putting parts out to people for guests. You think, do you have a problem sort of letting go of those things that you've come up with, or do you?
Glad to get rid of them.
Let's get rid of
them. I'm just glad I haven't got to finish it, really, and because we've been working together, with the other guys, the Fish Dead guys, it's been since I was at school, so it's like a long time. So I trust them, and they trust me, but no, I've got I don't really like I like coming up with stuff. I don't like finishing it. I find it a bit boring.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, finishing stuff is really hard work. I mean, at this stage where I am now with this album, it's the hardest part for sure. You spend hours, or days and weeks, fine-tuning things, and you're sort of putting 90% of effort in, but only getting 10% result back. Whereas in the initial writing process, you're almost putting like 10% effort in and getting 90% back. So
is the live band playing on the album now then? No.
I mean, that some of it is. I mean, Kyle. I mean, I've always considered Kyle for the last. Kyle Fenton. He's since 2017. I've regarded him as Cosmograph's sort of full-time drummer. So he is really a full-time member of the band, really. But in terms of other members, there isn't really any. It's fluid, basically. It's whoever
So do you think eventually that'll become a firm lineup? I mean, do you think that's
possibly? I don't know. I mean, I'm not averse to that. I'm a bit of a control freak with the writing, I have to say. I wouldn't see it as a collaborative writing process ever. But it might be for another project. I might get involved in another band, but I wouldn't continue to call that Cosmograph. We'd call it something else collaboratively. So Cosmograph will always be my sort of solo project, if you like, but using guests and whoever I sort of feel would benefit the record, really. Yeah,
it's difficult because
it sounds arrogant, but it's not really that's not really what
it doesn't sound arrogant. It sounds like you've got a vision that you want to.
It's just a vision that it's just. I think a lot of it is insecurity in delivering something. Sometimes I feel that I don't really want to expose myself creatively to other people. It's your
there was
put it out there. Yeah,
there was one song I did on one of the solo records. I got loads of people to play on it. And it was like, you let your dog go out for a walk with someone else. It comes back and the dog's not your dog anymore. It was a bit like that.
That's great.
Dog had made a new.
He's not your friend anymore. I've found a new friend.
So it was a bit like that. So, I mean, it sounded really good, but it was like, well, I'm not sure.
You destroyed our relationship.
Yeah. So. That's happened to me on when I'm not going to say what song it is, but when it came out really well, but it just wouldn't have been how I would have done it. I mean, I'm not. I just
I mean, when I did the records with you, I mean, you know, you did your. I mean, you've done 3 now, haven't you? On
Yeah,
Cosmograph?
yeah, I really enjoy it.
I've always been amazed what comes back, and other people as well. And I put parts out. I don't think there's ever been an occasion where I've been really, oh bugger, that was a huge mistake. What's come back?
It's difficult because you know, different have different sensibilities about stuff. I mean, what I, you know, the things where I want to take. It was like when I did all the solo records, I got to the end of the last one, and I never wanted to do another one again. And I've never done one since. I've never looked back. I've never thought about doing it again. Doesn't interest me at all. Same, and I did get through a stage where I wrote a load of bits. I thought, perhaps I could do it on the solo album, but my heart wasn't in it. And I thought, and I just used the bits, became Fierce and the Dead stuff. And I was quite, you know, I thought, well, maybe I could do it, and maybe I could, you know. And I thought, well, it just wasn't for the right reasons. It was kind of almost like there's an just because there's an audience for something, and you know, that's not why I do music. I do music because I love music, and I don't want to ever get to the point where I'm doing it because I feel there's an audience. I mean, people have asked me to play on stuff before, and I haven't done it. But it probably would have been very good for me in a career sense.
Yeah, I understand.
Some big name bands and stuff, or got asked to join a band that was quite popular once. And if I'd done it, it probably would have got my name out there, as they say, and all this stuff. But I would have been miserable because it's just like, I mean, there's whatever you do, there's hardly any money in it. And also, I would have been, you know, like the one thing I really enjoy doing is music. And when you're doing music for people who you're not enjoying it, well, that takes away the one thing you enjoy, isn't it? So
that's right. Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, you've got to get something out of it. And like you say, we're not being paid big bucks for it. So,
I mean, you know, if I got offered to play guitar on a tour once, and it would have been a 3-week tour, I would have had to stay on this bus, and I would have had to, you know, give up all my other things and go away. And I think I was going to get 70 quid a day or something, which was, you know, it's complicated of some sort. But at the end of the day, it's a job. Then it's a job.
Yeah.
You're just going
through the motion of doing the job. Yeah.
And also, it's not your band; it's their band, and your job is to play the parts, you know, exactly how they want you to play them.
Exactly.
There's no art in this. This is crap.
No. Yeah, I mean, I found that a little bit with Big Train. I have to say that, you know, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, and I bet you learned so much doing it.
But I learned so much from it, and you know, there was no deceit anywhere because that was how it was sold to me.
That's a gig, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if I'd had more time and I wasn't doing the other stuff, I would have done, you know, some of the things I've been offered. But being a professional musician in somebody else's band is not what I want to do. It's definitely not what I want to do. I've learned.
No, exactly.
You sound like you've been through the same sort of journey.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas I thought when I was a kid, that would have been the best job in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to just try it really and see how I got on. I thought that it might that sort of thing might rear its head, but I just wanted to try it, and I learned an enormous amount for it. It was really good fun.
I wish if I'd had the time.
It wasn't something I was going to do forever. Yeah.
No, if I had the time, I would have done it, and I think I'd have learned a lot from doing it.
Yeah. But
I don't think I necessarily. It's a different thing to making your own records, isn't it? And doing your own band.
It is, yeah.
That's the dream. That's what you want to do. Is make your own records, have your own band, play gigs, and that's the thing, isn't it?
It is exactly that, and that's what we
signed up for,
to make another album. Yeah,
that's what we signed up for. I didn't sign up to be, the guitarist in someone else's band, even though that would have been playing bigger gigs. But part of me regrets not doing it, and I think we learned a lot from doing it. And a lot of it's time, and I've got a family and stuff, and I can't just jack all my day job stuff in and just go.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you can sometimes do both. If you have got the luxury that you've not got the family needing your time, or you've got the another job needing your time, you can potentially do both, and some people do. But I just didn't have that luxury.
No, I'm the same. It's time, isn't it? It's always, I think if I'd been 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 25, it'd have been different. But the world's, I just feel like I've been very lucky to do what I have done, let alone
For sure, yeah.
But I think the way you've played it is really clever, and the way that you've built it up online and built your audience just by making good records. So I hugely admire what you've done, Robin. So awesome.
Oh, cheers.
It's very, very cool.
Well, yeah, it's mutual, really, because I mean, the thing with you, Matt, is that you've really been really innovative with your social media and that sort of thing, and really clever ways of engaging your audience and building the fan base. You know,
I don't know. I think when you, yeah, I don't know. I think when you haven't got much of I didn't have any choice because no one else was interested in what we were doing, and I had to build it up. But you know, I've enjoyed it.
Don't underestimate it, because it is some bands get it so wrong online. They really do, and I think I mean, yours is. Some people can accuse you of being a little bit controversial with the politics side and everything. But you know, it's worked. I think it's worked. I think your strategy for you've got people motivated and talking about things and life. And that sort of thing. That works, doesn't it?
Hopefully, I'm not. I'll try not to wind people up.
But you're nice with it, though, aren't you? You're not being confrontational.
I haven't got any. I think especially after things I've been through the last couple of years. I don't have any. I don't. I would hope I don't really have any enemies. I haven't got any. I'm not angry about anything. I'm not angry with anybody. I just would like the world to be a bit nicer. That's all. That's my only. You know, politically, you know, all I want is just the world to be nicer and kinder and more inclusive, and you know, that's the only things I'm really interested in. I'm not interested in party politics at all, really.
No.
All I'm interested in is trying to make the world slightly nicer and not upset everybody.
Yeah.
Basically. Right, okay, we'll wind this up. Robin, thank you so much. I shall stop pressing record. Thanks so much, mate, and good luck for everything. I should be at the gigs.
Excellent.
Take care. I'm going to stop recording.